please start the session.
Yes, sir. So, hello everyone. Good afternoon. Welcome to the session. So, we will be discussing about the Security Operations Center. So, I am Pankaj Sadeva, working as Scientist B in CERTIN. So, in today's agenda, we will be discussing what is SOC. So, why do we need a SOC? Its purpose. Then we'll be discussing about the types of SOC. Then we'll look at the building blocks which are required to make a SOC. They will be discussing people, process, and technology involved. Then at the last, I'll just briefly discuss about the national and state SOC setup. Okay. So SOC is a security operations center. So basically, it deals with all the security issues of an organization. Okay, so it is a 24/7 kind of a setup. It looks like this. So we have analysts working round the clock. So we have some video walls. They are monitoring all the assets. So in an organization, there are a lot of cyber infrastructure. There are hardware, various types of hardwares. There are routers, email gateways, antivirus servers, database servers. So there are this infrastructure. Then there is a security infrastructure like IDS, IPS, firewalls. So all of these infrastructure of an organization, they generate a lot of logs, okay, and they need to be monitored for any cybersecurity activity. So for that purpose, we have a SOC or a Security Operations Center. So all big organizations have their own SOC. Okay, so this unit deals with any cybersecurity related incident. Okay, so any intrusion or any data breach or any suppose attack that is happening for on an organization. So SOC will be the one place which will deal with this. Okay, so the SOC consolidates under its umbrella the functions of incident lifecycle. So starting from incident monitoring, detecting, responding, coordination, management of organization security products, okay, network devices, end user devices, computer network defense tools, okay. So this and their operation and maintenance. So all of these security devices management as well as the cyber infrastructure of the organization, it's secure, it's safeguarding that infra. So all of these functions are done by the SOC. So it is also known as a cyber security defense center in some nomenclatures, security analytics center, network security operations center, security intelligence center, so threat defense center. So all of these are nomenclatures that are used for a SOC only. So this is how basically a SOC looks like. This is a general image. So there are analysts working round the clock. So mostly in shifts. For any big organization, 24/7 setup is there. For smaller organization, they may prefer a 9 to 9 kind of a setup. So it depends upon the organization, its scale, its priorities, its goals. Okay. So what all devices that are there? So there are mail servers, web servers, there are firewalls, there are application servers, there is IDS, antivirus, there is VPN, there is end user activity. Okay, so there are honeypots, proxy servers. So all of these devices, they generate a lot of logs. Okay, so they are being more all these devices they're used to monitor organizations cyber traffic. Okay, so next gen firewall I'll be taking up. There's a question, so question I'll be taking up at the end. Okay, then there is IPS, the honeypot. So all of these devices, they are part of a SOC. Okay, the SOC basically monitors these devices, it assesses and defends. Okay, so heart of a SOC is a SIM tool, okay, security information and event management. So I'll be discussing this tool in greater detail in the later part of the slides. Okay, so all of these logs of these devices, they are aggregated and correlated inside the SIM. Okay, and the output comes as alerts, reports, and advisories. Okay, so this is the output. These devices logs are the usually the input, and there are other things as well. So we'll be discussing that. So why do we need a SOC? Okay, what's the purpose? So first of all, we need to increase the detection abilities. Now there is a M-Trend reports by FireEye which says that the median dwell time of 56 days. So basically, it this report says that for any cybersecurity breach that has occurred, it takes an average of 56 days to detect it. Okay, a cybersecurity breach has occurred. So this is huge. Okay, for 2 months, the bad actor is inside the organization network for about 2 months. Okay, so this is the data for 2020. If we compare this data from previous year, it was 78 days. Okay, so there's a lot of the days has reduced. We have achieved better median dwell time. But if we compare it with 2011, then this data was of 416 days. So on an average 416 days it used to take on an average to detect any cybersecurity breach. Okay, so this is a huge time. So we do not want that the bad actor, if of an organization is breached, so the bad actor remains undetected for such a long time. Okay, so we need to increase the detection abilities. Second point is increasing the responding capabilities. Now, suppose there is a bad actor who is trying to attack an organization. Okay, so he is, let's say, creating a DDoS attack. So we don't want the adversary to succeed. We want the confidentiality, availability, and integrity to remain for the organization. So okay. So responding to any cyber attack, whether it be a service related or attacking any of the three pillars of the cybersecurity, or maybe a breach and trying to exfiltrate some data. So we need to basically respond in a better way. So we need a SOC for that. Okay. SOC is a centralized place, so expertise is there with the people, so they can respond in a better way. Then the third point is reducing the service disruption from security issues. Like I said, that if an organization is suffering from, let's say, a DDoS attack, now we want the website should be available. It has to be up. Now, getting the website back after it is attacked by a DDoS, so this time should be of minimum value. So we need to have the minimum disruption time. Okay. Then reducing impact from security compromises. Now there's a Ponemon Institute. It estimated that the data breach cost in 2020 is of $3.86 million. Okay, so if any organization is attacked and the bad actor breaches that organization, the estimated cost is almost $4 million. Okay, so this is huge. So any impact financially, it will harm the organization in the long run. So we need to reduce this. So we don't want that the organization, cyber security infrastructure be breached. Okay, cyber infrastructure be breached. Okay, so we need to safeguard the organization's network. Okay, so that we have, reduce the this cost. Then we need to enhance the correlation potential. Now, let's say some bad IP was trying to scan an organization network from few days. Okay. Now the same IP that was also found, trying to penetrate the organization, and it was detected at a IDS. Okay. Now these two are two different types of information that we are generating from two different type of devices. Okay, so maybe scanning signature was there at the router, and we have detected the scanning, and the IDS has generated another intrusion. Okay, log. Now these two logs, they need to be correlated. So I'm just giving you an example. So there are a lot of potential in correlations. So we need to correlate all of these data so that we have a better picture. We can better be ahead of the bad actors. Okay, the organization can better safeguard itself. So we need to increase that correlation potential, and so that the better coordination is there within the organization security devices also. Okay, then the last point is allowing for the coordination of central security management. So basically SOC involves all of the stakeholders can be present okay, under one umbrella only. So better coordination is there among all the stakeholders. So these are broadly the purpose that, why do we need a SOC. So now let's discuss what are the types of SOC. Okay, so first type is usually we have an outsourcing of SOC. Okay, so one type of setup is that if an organization want to set up their SOC, then they can just outsource. So here we leverage a MSSP. So MSSP is a managed security service provider. So basically it's a third party, security organization that, helps the organization in setting up of a SOC. Okay, so they do the initial setup. Okay, they this approach is usually taken when the organization lacks in-house expertise, so they basically hire a security vendor to help them. So here we don't have this skilled staff in-house, so we have to rely on the outside experts. So here operational expenditure is quite high, and we don't require that much of capex if we compare it with the in-house. Okay, if we are setting it up ourselves. So the challenge is here that we are not having the dedicated analyst from the organization. So the security vendor will take some time in understanding of the business concerns and the infrastructure. So what are the organization priorities? So it will take some time, by the MSSP, and there is a lot of coordination required with the MSSP because it's a vendor, and we know that how to dealing with vendor takes a lot of efforts. Then in some cases data is stored and processed outside of the organization also. The security vendor might place the security devices where it is collecting the logs, so not in the organization and maybe in some clouds. So that depends upon the setup we are choosing. So second type is an in-house SOC. Here we are ourselves setting it up. Okay, so we have a greater control over the security and compliance. We have our own staff. Okay, here there's better understanding among the staff as they know about the business concern. They are in-house only. Okay, so challenges here that we do not have the skill in-house, so we need to provide training to the staff. Okay, increased cost is there, so a lot of capital expenditure is required initially. Okay, and the most important challenge here is that the SOC maturity comes very slowly. Okay, so there's a gradual rise in SOC maturity as the people are new, so they do not know much. They are being trained, so the maturity comes at a slow pace. So some organization do this kind of setup, some do the outsource one, and the third one is a hybrid SOC. So we basically leverage both the in-house and the outsource SOC setups. So the both the good points we leverage in this hybrid setup. So the internal staff skills are built gradually. We have outside experts helping the in-house analyst, working with them. So there's a better rate for a hybrid setup. So these are the types of SOC. Okay, so how can we set up? So next we come on to the building blocks of a SOC. So we will be discussing people, process, and technology. So first we discuss the people. So we require resources for the SOC to function. So first and foremost, the main people working in the SOC are the analysts, SOC analysts as we call them, or the incident responders. So they are the real time, they do the real time monitoring and triaging. So these are basically the people working in shifts. Okay, so they have a 24/7 setup, so they will be working mostly in 3 shifts. Okay, so they do the real-time monitoring. They analyze the alerts generated. All of the devices are working properly. The alerts are being monitored by these analysts. Okay, so they do the incident analysis. They do the coordination and respond to the security incidents. Okay, so they also perform forensic and malware analysis also. So first and foremost, the people that we require in a SOC is the analysts or the incident responders. Then the other type of people that are required is cyber threat intelligence gathering. Okay, so basically, cybersecurity is a very dynamic field. So there are a lot of new, vulnerabilities coming up. There are new types of attacks that are, getting around the globe. Okay, so we need people to, collect these cyber threat intelligence. Okay, so they do the, web crawling, and we have some feeds also. So they have the expertise in cyber threat intelligence. So they collect, they analyze, distribute, they create some trends. Okay, what are the new trends of port scanning that are going on around the globe at this point of time? So trending and intel is one type of task that is required. So we have cyber threat intelligence people working in the SOC. Then there are SOC system admins. So there are a lot of sensors, there are a lot of tools that are employed in a SOC. Okay, so for their administrator, we require people. So these tools sometimes require, custom signature creation. They require some scripting, some automation. So this tool administration part is taken up by the SOC system admins. Then there is a SOC engineering team. So SOC engineering is basically a tool engineering and deployment team. So there are a lot of tools. So system administrator, manage these tools, but new tools, if we are to bring, or some, POCs are to be done. So this engineering department takes care of that. Then at the last, at the top is a SOC manager. So who is responsible for all of the, SOC activities. There is another classification of people that is done, that is through the rainbow teams. So many of you might have heard about this red team and blue team. So red team is basically the offensive security people. So they perform the penetration testing. Okay, so they try and explore the vulnerabilities. They do the social engineering. So these people are basically trying to attack the organization. Okay, they want to know that what are the organizations, vulnerabilities that are there. Okay, what are the organization weakness, so that they can tell them before the bad actor exploits these things. So red team basically attacks, they do the pen testing and all. Okay, the second one is a blue team, so they are the defender. So analysts working in the SOC, so they are usually the defender. Okay, so they do the infrastructure protection, they do the incident response, they do damage control. They want the organization to be safe. They try to defend. Okay, they are on the defensive side, so they are called the blue team. There is another thing called threat hunting, so I'll be discussing this in the next few slides. Okay, then the third categorization is a yellow team. So yellow team are basically the SOC system admins. So they are the system architects, they do the system operation maintenance, they are developers. So all of these people that are used for a system administration kind of a thing are categorized in the yellow team. So this is one classification for people that is done. Okay. So let's discuss this sample incident response cycle. Okay. So as I've told you that there are a lot of IT assets in the organization. Okay. So there are servers, there are firewall, there are antivirus servers, database servers, various types of servers and devices are there. There are end user devices. So all of these devices, they generate events, and these events are pushed into a SIM. Okay, SIM is the central heart of the SOC. Okay. Then there are cyber threat intelligence and vulnerabilities. So we have people gathering this cyber threat intelligence. Okay, so they put all this information through the tools inside the SIM. Okay, so they gather new threat intelligence and are pushing this thing. Then there are constituents. So there are historical incident response reports. Okay, so that data is also being pushed into the SIM. Now all these data, the threat intelligence, the real time logs, and the historical reports. So all of these are pushed into the SIM. Okay, the SIM is involved in real time monitoring, doing the correlation. So this tier one analyst working on the clock, so he looks after the alerts generated in the SIM. Okay, he does the case management. He analyzes. He do the investigation and all. Okay, so the analysis is done. Mostly the cases are handled by the tier one analyst. So if required, the case can be escalated to a tier two analyst. Okay, So he's a more experienced SOC analyst. Okay, he may perform in-depth analysis using traffic captures, using some studying the malware samples, or he might coordinate and consult the system owners. Any fine tuning is required so that that type of attack doesn't occur again. Okay, so that he takes the decision, and finally, what needs to be done? Suppose we need to block it, we need to deactivate some accounts, we need to continue watching. So that depends. Okay, so this is a sample incident life cycle. Okay, so that is there in an organization in the SOC. Okay, this is a sample cybersecurity incident life cycle. Now we come on to the threat hunting. So threat hunting is basically, proactive, iterative, and human-centric identification of cyber threats internal to an IT network that has evaded the existing security controls. So basically, threat hunting involves that we assume that the bad actor has, penetrated into an organization, and we are not able to detect it. So we assume that the bad actor is inside and we need to find it. Okay, so we assume that the compromise is already done. Okay, so this is called a threat hunting. So basically we know that threat hunting is basically process of searching cyber threats that are lurking undetected in the network. Okay, so the process used usually in threat hunting is this cyber kill chain process that you are seeing. Okay, so we need to know about the cyber kill chain, then only we can perform the threat hunting. So the cyber kill chain, there are 7 steps in the cyber kill chain process. So first step is reconnaissance, then weaponization, delivery, exploit, control, execute, and maintain. So I'll go through this one by one. So first step in usually any cyber attack is of reconnaissance. So the bad actor or any threat actor, he first studies the organization he's trying to attack. He might scan the organization network. He will know what all infrastructure, what all devices the organization is having. Okay, then he'll in the second stage of weaponize, he'll create a Leo document. Okay, so suppose he is trying to attack some military establishment. So he will create some phishing email, okay, and create a, let's say, attachment name of training for military staff or something like that. Okay, so this is the second step. So he is creating a lure document to lure the end user to clicking on it. Then the third stage is deliver. So he then sends that phishing email to the organization's employees. Okay, so till this stage, the organization is not yet breached. Okay, so organization info is known by the threat actor, but the organization is still safe. But when the user on that phishing email, who is receiving the phishing email, he clicks on the attachment and the attachment, is loaded into the system. Then the fourth stage comes, that is the exploit. So malware gets executed, whatever the attachment malware that was sent by the bad actor. So it gets executed. Okay. Then the fifth stage is control. So it is so that malware that was downloaded that might download some more additional malware. Okay, he is just it was just a payload. Okay, that malware might download another payload. Okay, so the sixth stage is execute. So here the malware might move internally. He might that malware might exfiltrate some data, whatever the target was there for that uh, malware for coming into the system, he will fulfill that. And the last stage is maintain. So the malware might leave a hidden backdoor to return back, or he might try to contact the command and control server. So this is a 7th stage of a cyber kill chain process. Okay, so threat hunting involves this having experienced analysts working as threat hunters. So in an organization, the senior analysts work round the clock, so that any adversary that has gone past the initial defenses, so it needs to be detected. So let's come on to the second pillar, that is of a process. So process is basically creating of a SOP. So we need standard operating procedure for all of the cybersecurity activities. So we need to spell out the roles and responsibility. as well as how to monitor. Okay, what are the procedures that will be followed for monitoring of a particular, let's say, tool, or what will be the procedures for detecting any attack. Okay, so all of these procedures has to be laid down before. Okay, so every process, SOP, standard operating procedure for everything has to be created. Okay, so whether it be a business process, technology process, operational process, or analytical process. So technology process might involve that some new employees joining on an organization and he will be given a system. So what all hardening has to be done on that system before the actual user logs in. Okay, some antivirus, let's say some antivirus software has to be installed. Some policies have to be, they have to be there on the system before the user uses. So all of these processes are created for the efficient working of the organization cybersecurity principles. Okay, so we come on to the third pillar, that is the technology. So all of these devices, so I'll be discussing one by one. So first of all is the firewall. So firewall basically is used to detect, is to use to block unwanted connections. Okay, so firewall, there is a software firewall, there's a hardware firewall also. So basically, depending on which layer we are installing it. Okay, so that is a firewall. Then there is IDS, IPS. So IDS is intrusion detection system. IPS is an intrusion prevention system. Okay, so according to the names, so one detects, another one has an additional functionality of preventing any intrusion into the network. Then they will have an anti-spyware server. Anti-spyware is basically an antivirus server. Okay, so it pushes the updates to the end users and devices. Okay, it is responsible for the controlling of any virus that has entered into the device. Then there is a rogue host detection. So rogue host detection is a software that periodically scans the routers and subnets to detect any new system or a device found connected in a network. I'll give you an example. Let's say we have a big bank. So there is a branch of that bank and it is having a branch server, and there are 15, let's say, uh, branch systems connected to the branch server. Now, suppose one employee, according to the cybersecurity policy of that organization, the mobile phone should not be connected to the end machine. Okay, the any machine connected to the branch server, the mobile phone should, or any peripheral device should not be connected. Let's say. Now, what happens is that some employee connects his or her mobile phone to the machine. Now, this row cause detection basically scans the network for any device or any some Wi-Fi router may be connected to the branch server. So this row cause detection detects any device that should not be there in the network, but it is present. Okay. Then there is a policy auditor. So policy auditor is a IT assessment solution. So it is required in internal and external IT security audits. So it leverages the principle of SCAP, that is Security Content Automation Protocol. So it is used in IT audits. Okay. Then there is asset management. So an organization must know what all assets are there. So suppose there's an organization of 2 lakhs employees. So a lot of hardware is there. So proper asset management has to be done. We should know what all hardware we are owning, and we are not having any, you know, device that is not part of our, and there is, it might connect to the network. Okay, so that should not be done. Then the remote forensics. So forensics is basically analyzing, anything. So remote forensics is usually done when an SOC, let's say, is at place X and we have to investigate some malware or some device located some other place. So we perform remote forensics on that machine. We, might take some samples, or we might want to, investigate the hard drive for any, malware or something. Then there is application whitelisting. So application whitelisting is only allowing certain applications to function, and not allowing other applications to work. Then there is patch management. So we have a lot of new vulnerabilities coming up. A lot of patches are there by the OEMs. So we need to patch our devices, our hardware, our softwares regularly. Then there is baseline monitoring. So baseline monitoring is, let's say for the organization, the traffic at their router is usually 1 Gbps. Okay, so on an average during the day, 1 Gbps traffic is observed on an organization. So we have created some baselines. Okay, so this is a usual behavior. Suppose, let's say during some day, the traffic at the router goes to 10 Gbps. Now, this is also unusual behavior. So, if we have done the baseline monitoring, so now we can detect, okay, this is an unusual behavior. We should be, stuck. We have to investigate what is causing this traffic so high. Then there is DLP, data loss prevention. So, this is done at the end devices so that the organization sensitive data is not leaked. Then there is a SIM. SIM is security, information, and event management. So I'll be discussing SIM in this slides later on. Then flow monitoring. So flow monitoring is, router's traffic is being monitored for any, let's say some signature or some signature, maybe some monitoring of some port traffic or all. Okay, so flow monitoring is there. Then packet capture is basically capturing packets for investigating some malware sample or for any other purpose also. So next gen firewall is a firewall having capabilities of a, let's say IDS, IPS, and anti-spyware also. So firewall plus 3-4 more devices, including an IDS, IPS, is a next gen firewall. So it basically performs functions of 3-4 hardware boxes in only one device. Okay, someone was asking that. Then there is a web application firewall. So firewall for web application, let's say we only want certain websites only. Okay, so we can have a web application firewall for that. Then there's a web proxy. So proxy server is there so that we can route all organization internet facing traffic from single server, single point. Okay, then there is a honeypot. So honeypot is a security device in security thing. We called honeypot as a device that is intentionally made vulnerable. Okay, so let's say we take one machine, we put it at our organization network. We intentionally do not patch it. We have some uh, vulnerable softwares lying on that system so that the bad actor or the threat actor tries to attack, and we can know the new methodologies that are being used by the bad actor. Okay, so this honeypot devices are very important in the security field. Okay, so they basically are helping generating this cyber threat intelligence. Okay, so this honeypot is used for that purpose. Then there are vulnerability scanners. So vulnerability scanners are basically used for penetration testing. Okay, so any vulnerabilities, which all vulnerabilities are there for the for in an system. Okay, then these is the set of technologies I have already discussed. Then I'll be discussing SIM. Okay, so SIM is a security information and event management tool. So let's look at this diagram. So here you can see that these all are the organization devices. So we have firewalls, we have proxies, we have various types of servers, we have routers, switches, IDS, IPS, we have DNS directory, we have vulnerability scanners, we have antivirus servers, we have critical application. So all of these devices, they're generating logs. Okay, they are the data sources for this SIM. Okay, so all these logs, they're pushed into the SIM. Okay, so SIM does its task and gives this output. So what task it is that it's do is, so security information and event management basically supports threat detection and security incident response through real-time collection and historical analysis of security events. Okay, so it collects it collects security logs from wide data sources. Okay, it supports compliance reporting and incident investigation through analysis of historical data from these sources. Okay, so we are receiving these real-time logs from all of these devices. Okay, we have the historical information and we have the cyber threat intelligence. So SIM matches these logs against any rule or any signature that is created, and it generates the alerts. Okay, so it creates an alert feeds, it supports visualization, it has trend analysis, any detailed reporting, responding to security incidents. Okay, cyber threat intelligence fusion, forensics, and security status. So all of these tasks are done by the SIM. So some people confuse SIM with a centralized log collection. No, SIM is not only centralized log collection. Centralized log collection is just a part of a SIM. Okay, SIM performs all of these other purposes. It supports the incident ID creation, ticket management. So analyst looks on to the alerts generated by this SIM. He does the analysis in the SIM, okay, and he performs the action that are to be done on that alert inside the SIM only in some cases, okay. So we use log enrichment using some, we might involve the who is data from some feeds, okay. So we can have that who is data inside the SIM also. Then there's a ticketing or case management. Then we can have priorities as well. So we can have some alerts as a high priority, some alerts as a low priority. Okay, so we can also integrate IOCs from other cyber intel feeds. So in cyber threat intelligence, there are a lot of security vendors. They provide that cyber threat intelligence feeds. Okay, so they provide some IOCs in the form of, let's say, IP or some URLs or some hashes. So all of these feeds in some formats, let's say sticks, taxi, or any other format. So these can be ingested in this SIM tool. Okay, so this is basically SIM. So this is basically the heart of a SOC. SIM is the most important tool. Okay, so what are the rules that are there in a SIM? Okay, so let's say we look at this trigger point. So let's say we have a trigger, we have a 3 or more failed login attempts in a minute from a single host. Okay, so if this scenario occurs, okay, then the event sources here are the AD servers, or the 6log, or the any devices servers. Okay, so we are basically, what's the goal for this? So we are basically detecting any early warning for a brute force attack, password guessing, or some misconfigured application. So basically, we suspect that some other person is trying to log in to some other machine, and he is not knowing the password. This is the sample case. Okay, let's look at another case. Okay, so the trigger point is here that alert on 15 or more firewall drop reject events from a single IP in 1 minute. Now let's say the goal here is that we are trying to know for the scanning. So let's say an IP is trying to scan, continuously trying to scan at say 1433 port. Okay, and they are dropped by the firewall. Now we suspect that that IP might is trying to scan the entire network. Okay, so firewall routers and switches generate these logs, and we have the early warning for a scan through this SIM signature. Okay, so these are sample types of SIM rules that we create. Okay, so SOC maturity comes with how better our SIM rules are. Okay, so we want the rules to be accurate so that they don't generate any false positives. Okay, we continuously enhance these rules, okay, in the SIM. So let's look at this last rule also. Will give you more clarity. So it says alert when a single host sees an identified piece of a malware. So the antivirus server will be getting this log by the end machine. Okay, that some malware is detected. Okay, so the goal here is that we are getting an alert when a virus, spyware, or other malware is detected. Okay, so these are the sample rules that are created in a SIM. Okay. So there is a new concept of a SOAR. So I'll just give you a brief. So SOAR is a security orchestration, automation, and response. Okay. So here, let's say there is I'll give you an example here. Let's say there's an alert in a SIM for a scanning. Okay. Now what happens is that the alert is triggered. The analyst working in the shift, he sees that alert. Okay, he investigates this. He finds that okay, this IP needs to be blocked at the firewall. Okay, so he raises a request with the system administrator team to block this IP on the firewall. Now, this process of alert triggering, the analyst studying it, and then posting the query to the posting the request to the system administrator to block that IP. Now, these three steps can be automated. Okay, so the SOAR is a tool that is used in automating these such type of general alerts, you can say. So it basically increases the analyst productivity. So the analyst can now focus on more, alerts that are not very frequent. Okay, so some general alerts can be now automated. So SOAR, supports three capabilities. It supports the threat and vulnerability management orchestration, security operation automation, security incident response. Okay, so security orchestration automation response is a new type of a tool that is there. So it, as I told you, this purpose. Okay, so then we come on to the last topic, that is national and state SOC. So it facilitates coordination between multiple subordinate distinct SOC. So we have, sectoral SOCs, we have national SOC inside the CERT. Okay. So they basically, the sectoral or the national SOCs, as we call them, they do not have visibility till the end user device. They usually look after the organization edge routers or the edge internet facing devices only. The organization internal devices like the desktops or some printers. So all of this level detail is not available in these huge stocks. Okay, so they basically want to alert the organization for some new types of alerts or attacks that are being, they have better, as they are having a better cyber threat intelligence feeds, so they know what type of new alert are being, generated across the globe. So they alert these organization. Okay, so let's say we are having a new type of ransomware attack and it is targeting a healthcare industry. So that healthcare SOC or maybe that type of or that sector SOC can be given, warning early so that it can, protect the constituents under it. Okay, so it performs coordination with other national SOCs also. Okay, so we receive a good amount of intelligence from other state, SOCs for other countries. Okay, so this is a AP SOC developed in 2018. So it works on the lines of ICERT. So it extends cybersecurity cover to all the governments, department and state-owned entities. Okay. So it has an exclusive web portal for reporting of cybersecurity related events. So this is basically Security Operations Center. So any questions I'd like to take up now?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you for a wonderful session. Actually, I'm just looking for any doubts in the chat box.
Okay,
If
sir.
anything, I just read out for you.
Sure.